So let's get a wide shot because I think it's a certain time, everyone. It's a little bit of
yeah, I don't know what time it is now.
Yeah, well, this should be the high point of the story.
Time to find out what GIF we're using.
It's a Tulsi time.
We don't use that one that often.
So why am I talking about Tulsi Gabbard? Because this article from the New York Magazine just boils my blood to no end. It makes a lot of bold accusations.
Does it grind your gears?
No, it boils my blood.
Okay.
It boils my blood, and I'll tell you why.
It grinds my gears.
All right.
Well, when you guys hear some of the stuff that's in this crap article about the anti-Trump left and about Tulsi Gabbard and some accusations that are made towards some reporters that we respect, yeah, everyone's going to get upset. So Tulsi Gabbard has been slowly edging toward leaving the Democratic Party and now seems more likely than not launching a spoiler candidacy to peel disaffected left-wing votes away from the Democrats. First, Tulsi Gabbard, along with all the other Democratic contenders, signed a document indicating that they are going to support the nominee. Tulsi Gabbard is not running as a third-party candidate. She answered that a million times, a billion times, a trillion times. I guess no one's still getting it through their head that she made that commitment. Number two, wait, all right, I say number two. Well, no, nonetheless, here's another aspect.
Next point.
Next point. There we go. Next point. When we look at the fact of what it takes to run a third-party candidacy, she should have done that months and months in advance. After the primaries are done, it's going to be the fall spring. There's no way anyone can effectively launch a third-party campaign in that short amount of time. The Greens were doing that even during the 2016 election cycle, but they were doing that at the very, very beginning when everything started. It takes a long time to get on the ballot, especially on a federal level, especially for the office of presidency. Tulsi Gabbard is not doing that. She's not running as a third-party candidate.
And could I say one more thing on that? Like in America, like running a third-party candidate for a presidential ticket is like shooting yourself in the both feet and then trying to compete in a race. And the only person who really did that to any capacity was a billionaire, Ross Perot, and that was really never able. They were never able to do it again. So again,
one could argue Lincoln, but we're talking in the modern political era.
Yeah. So even if she wanted to, which she doesn't, and she has said it's just a nice talking, but let's ask her the same question and nothing new. It would be fruitless if she did.
Yeah. Right. So, so her president vote, because apparently everyone's still upset that she voted president. I'm not. I respect her courage for actually voting president, and that's how it should be. Vote on impeachment followed a disavowed of what she called a zero-sum mindset the two political parties have trapped America in. Sets the stage for Gabbard to play the role of 2020's Jill Stein. Again, Dr. Jill Stein is with the Green Party. Tulsi Gabbard is with the Democratic Party. Also, we got a super chat. Life of Brian. Thank you.
Wonderful movie.
Centrists are not establishments. I'd call myself a centrist. I'm moderately skeptical of the government's ability to do any good to anyone. I don't want $1 trillion forever wars, torture, censorship, corporatism. Okay. Well, that's very good to know.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat. Left-wing anti-Trumpism played an important role in the bizarre 2016 outcome. Die-hard Bernie activists fired up with anger at the release of the DNC emails stolen by the Russians. Again, Russiagate, which was already debunked. That purposely showed the party had rigged the primary, demonstrated against the party outside in the convention hall, and tried to drown out the speakers inside with booze. Gabbard's emergence is another indication that the disaffected that drove these events has not disappeared. Anti-Trumpism has maintained a small but durable intellectual infrastructure. The sentiments that first registered as dissident from the Russia investigation transferred to impeachment and acquires of left-wing voices is attacking the effort to remove Trump from office as at best a misguided diversion and at worst a deep state coup. The anti-Trump left is not a monolithic bloc, though. Some anti-Trump leftists eagerly appear on Fox News and other right-wing media, while others shun it. What they share, in addition to enthusiasm for Bernie Sanders, is deep skepticism of the Democratic Party's mobilization against the president. While incomprehensible to liberals, centrists, and even many leftists who work within two-party politics, left-wing anti-Trumpism is a coherent logic. It takes its starting point a familiar critique that Trump won because liberalism failed. Trump, while bad, is merely a phenomenon of a larger failure of the Democratic Party and the political economic establishment. Some anti-Trump leftists see impeachment not merely as a distraction from the Sanders revolution, but deliberate to effort to marginalize it. Crystal Ball and Aaron Maté recently speculated that Democratic leaders just might be setting up an impeachment trial in order to keep Sanders and Elizabeth Warren locked up in Washington off the campaign trail. And that's a real actual concern, because guess what? If the articles of impeachment do go to the Senate, all the senatorial candidates like Bernie Sanders, Warren, Klobuchar, Cory Booker are going to have to be in the Senate. That's the second phase of the impeachment. So hold on, guys. There's a couple more things I want to bring in here, too. What gives the anti-Trump left is its emotional impetus is a simmering resentment against the center left, especially the way the Russia and Ukraine scandals have made Democrats lionize elements of the security establishment. My discomfort in the last few years, first with Russiagate and now with Ukrainegate and impeachment, stems from the belief that the people pushing hardest for Trump's early removal are more dangerous than Trump, writes Matt Taibbi. So, leftists like Matt and Glenn Greenwald sometimes appear on Tucker Carlson's show, giving an edgy, trans-ideological sheen to his increasingly overt white nationalism. Crystal Ball's Hill TV outlet was started by John Solomon, the Republican operative who has worked closely with Russian oligarchs. Again, Russiagate was BS. It was 3 years of propaganda. Nothing came from it. Impeachment. It's a joke. And in fact, guys, you know, while we were just starting the show, I recently saw a lot of headline articles from MSNBC, Fox News, The Hill, Politico, that the House is now thinking about doing more articles of impeachment. They're thinking about doing another round of articles of impeachment. It's almost like the first phrase was bullshit in the first place. But no, we're not going to talk about that and how much of a disaster this impeachment truly is. We're not going to talk about that. Its format frequently consists of Ball and her conservative co-hosts alternating attacks on the Democrats from the left and the right. The fact that the anti-Trump leftist has interests to coincide with Russia compounds the dynamic. There is a zero reason to suspect any of them to have covert ties of any kind with Russia. Their arguments are perfectly explainable in normal terms. Russia has helped amplify their ideas because it suits Russia's agenda. Moscow generated and promoted the most strident anti-Clinton voices on the left in 2016 and seems to view left-wing opposition to Democrats as lever upon which it can usefully lean. Now, just a quick reminder, Facebook, I mean, in regards to in 2016, some Russian trolls or something, or some entity in Russia gave $100,000 in Facebook ads on Facebook. That's not enough to change an election. There's no proof that Russia interfered in our election. There's no proof of any of that. Here's what happened in 2016. The Democrats committed election fraud by working with the Clinton campaign to deny Bernie Sanders a nomination, and in thus, here's what happened. The Democrats gambled on a corporatist and lost to a reality TV show host. That's the truth, and everyone was calling it out. The resentment seems to have created a life on its own, making some leftists tolerant of Trump's disturbing, obviously corrupt relations with Putin, even though he just recently put sanctions on Russia, but we're not going to talk about that, no. But what brought them to this strange place is their hatred for the center left, which blots out any sense of portion of the danger Trump poses. Many leftists can imagine a bigger risk than the establishment neutralizing Trump before he can bring the system down. Yet somehow the emergency of his growing authoritarianism has not concentrated every mind, and the election of Trump has not dispelled the fantasy of his destruction of the center, and the center left will lead ultimately to a better world. So here's what I think about this article, since it's my last day here. Here's what I think of everyone in the corporate media smearing Tulsi Gabbard, calling her a Russian asset, saying that she's running as a third-party candidate, or anyone else that's critical of the Democrats and their neoliberal bullshit. Here's what I think of this article and the media's piss-poor job in regards to trying to inform the American people. Here's what I think.
Come on, you got this, Kit.
Hang on. There we go. Don't you dare do this to me. There we go.
It's the establishment
tiny
fighting
little
back.
Pieces, all in the tiny little
That's
pieces.
what I think of the establishment. That's what I think of this article. That's what I think of all the smears. Because you know what? When they say that people like Crystal Ball and Aaron Maté and Glenn Greenwald are critical of Trump, but also critical of the Democrats, they're also saying that people like Heartland's Media are also somehow in this conspiracy. And then Jimmy Dore and Kim Iverson and everyone else is a part of this weird conspiracy cabal. Look, first of all, what Tulsi Gabbard did was heroic and brave in 2016 by stepping down from the DNC chair. And since then, she's had a target on her back by the Clinton establishment, the DNC establishment, and corporate media. Tulsi Gabbard didn't do anything wrong then. She didn't do anything wrong in regards to voting for president. And that's my opinion, not of Heartland's media. That's my opinion. Because here's the real truth. Impeachment, Russiagate, and all this other stuff is corrupt and wrong. So, Daniel, Paul, wrong guys. I'm a little bit angry. This is Paul. This is Daniel. So guys, take it away.
So there's a couple of different things. First of which, everything I agree with what Kit said. I would think that I would even consider myself in the way that they're fighting. I would say I'm anti-Trump. Do I dislike Trump as a president? Yeah, he's an authoritarian, leans right in a way that I really don't like, in a populist way that's pseudo-populist. But here's the bigger threat. Here's the real question, and they have a gravy train going. The mainstream media has a gravy train going. The Democratic Party has a gravy train going. And this is a key structure argument. What they align to has nothing to do with us. We are, as regular citizens, nearly completely outside of this entire process and can be ignored from their point of view. So what has happened? They have ignored the citizens for decades. The Democratic Party used to control the entire country after FDR. They would do great things. They build the Hoover Dam. They make the highway project. They would, as Yang, I love Yang points this out, but if it's this entire thing, they would literally just try and give money to people just to see what happens, because they were actually doing things. America was winning by winning. It was making things. It was progressing the world. It was doing everything. And then the Democratic Party started taking corporate money. The party that is supposed to offset the Republicans became Republicans. The Republicans just moved right. Trump is a symptom of the bigger problem. The bigger problem is the status quo. The bigger problem is that Congress doesn't do anything anymore. The fact that the do-nothing Congress that we used to know in Obama is moving miles faster. The U.S. has stopped passing laws. The U.S. is taxing regressively. The U.S. is effectively moving money from regular people to billionaires, and those billionaires are then funding the party, both parties. Doesn't matter that, Republicans, something I've kind of realized a couple weeks ago is I prefer malice to negligence or incompetence. If someone's going to throw a punch at me, I'd rather know that they meant to do it rather than them being clumsy and accidentally elbowing me in the eye.
It's like, watch where you're going. I'd rather have you actually hit me in the face.
And so this is what we're dealing with. Right now, we are fires. Right now, Heartland's media is a fire that they're trying to put out, but there are fires everywhere. And in previous times, in previous eras, you have one fire, put it out over here, put it out over here, put it over here. There's too many.
Yeah.
The system is breaking down. Trump is simply a symptom of it. So do I not like Trump? No. Do I think he's a terrible president? Yeah. But I think that the real thing that can stop that is the status quo not being the status quo. And that means the Democratic Party actually fulfilling the needs that it originally did in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. If it gets back to that time, you don't have to worry about, that's the thing, you don't have to worry about Trump. You don't have to worry about impeaching him. You don't have to worry about Russiagate. You win by winning. And that means getting policies in place that people will vote for you anyway. If you do good things, people will follow. But their incentives are so off that they can't even do that. And all they can do is spend years saying it's Trump's fault. We didn't do it. It's Trump's terrible.
Yeah. I just this story just rings true to me in that it's like we've been saying the right thing for such a long time, right? That we would enter a new sort of neo-McCarthyist era. Excuse me. This is just sort of neo-McCarthyism, right? This is new Red Scare, new red baiting. This person was he's got business ties to a Russian oligarch, and therefore Crystal Ball's show is inauthentic and it's Russian propaganda. That's
everyone that disagrees with us is Russian.
Yeah, everyone that disagrees with us is Russian. I mean, even that is like guilt by association through association. Like, come on. That's all anyone has anymore. Oh, it's Russia. Oh, they're Russians. Oh, it's a foreign Russia.
Yeah.
Foreign Russia. It's like, why again is Russia's gonna take over America? Is that gonna happen?
No.
They're gonna make our overthrow of Assad inconvenient. Make us, make you kill a bunch more people with all those weapons that you're building over there. This is we've been warning this would happen, right? So like all of these things we've been saying for 3.5, almost 4 years. Like they'll just come after the left, and they are. Matt Taibbi, Russian, right? Crystal Ball, Russian. Glenn Greenwald, Russian, right? They're all Russians. Who else did they name in that article?
Oh, Bloomberg? Oh, fine gentleman. He's given us $100 million. Wonderful man.
The Republican in a Democratic primary, by the way. But Paul, any other final words?
Yeah, it's just that just pisses me off that, it's more red baiting. It's constant, endless red baiting.
Right. Also, I want to read these 2 super chats. Thank you for the 2 super chats. Life of Brian, you sent us an earlier one. It's me again. I don't know if you caught that anti-Trump rhetoric is being borrowed from the Cold War right, anti-communist, which fits with the Cold War. You know what? Here's
great point.
Yeah, and also you wish us happy holidays as well. So I just want to mention this just real quick. Tulsi Gabbard is not a Russian asset. She's not a Assad apologist. She's not running as a third-party candidate. She is somebody who's built a very interesting coalition, a diverse coalition, and she's being punished for her heroic and courageous actions in regards to 2016, stepping down as vice chair of the DNC, and also by voting president, which is something I don't have a problem with. Look, this impeachment is a joke very similar to how Russiagate is. And yes, Trump is a bad, horrible president. He is incompetent. He's very vindictive. He has a cruel personality. But you know what? He got into office because of the incompetence of corporate media and the greed of the Democratic establishment. This is why we got to get money out of politics. Tulsi Gabbard is not a traitor to this country. She hasn't done anything wrong. She's running a campaign to get the nomination. And as far as I'm concerned, she has nothing to apologize. And all the other people too, Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, Crystal Ball, Jimmy Dore, Kim Iverson, all the other progressive channels and independent channels that have interviewed Tulsi Gabbard have nothing to apologize for because we're calling out the same thing. We here at Heartlands Media are calling out the same thing, and that is neoliberalism is crippling our democracy. Money in politics is crippling our democracy. And the only way we're going to beat Trump is with a strong progressive who has a strong coalition to defeat him, because impeachment isn't going to do it. And if corporate media can't wrap its head around it, well, then guess what? That's their downfall. And that's where independent media comes in. And that's where we step in so that you guys can start stepping up and using your voice and your power.
And it's not just that Tulsi Gabbard isn't a Russian agent because of reasons that are dumb. Bernie Sanders is an anti-Semitic. Andrew Yang should be discussed, and his name isn't Andrew.
No, John.
Yes.
His name is Andrew.
I had the right idea, but I pulled the wrong word.
And we are not Russian agents.
No. But here's the other thing.
Putin's not my president. Yet.
And Paul, you've brought this up before, and it has to do with that just... Are we gonna, if Russia wants world peace, do we not want world peace? If Russia's like, hey, maybe it'd be great if we didn't anthrax bomb the planet, should we anthrax bomb the planet? If it's so bad to be anti-Trump, isn't it perhaps worse to be blindly anti-Russian? Because they're a country, maybe a big small country with a small GDP and not a lot to do.
And like a mud season.
But maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't burn our wheat because Russians are growing it.
Yeah.
Maybe America, just an idea, the most powerful country that has existed and perhaps ever will, though perhaps not, the future will tell us. Perhaps America should lead on its own accord and not base how it acts on Russia. And I'm sure that it has nothing to do with, I don't know, this basic idea that, America is just using all this as a scapegoat to maintain the gravy train they have going, and Russia has nothing to do with anything except it has already been implanted in so many people's minds, and it's just being used to divide and conquer, and we are trying to stop that.
You just want all the gravy.
Yes. And so here's the thing. Final note for this story, and that is be prepared for more smear articles. And guys, I know we all have differing opinions, but we are smart. We are intelligent. All of us here know what has to be done to build a better future. And by all of us, I mean you guys, our viewers, our subscribers, even our critics too. But the one thing that's hurting us, the one thing that's dividing us is neoliberalism and the corporate media turning a blind eye to what's really affecting us. We got to get money out of politics. We got to deal with climate change. We have to rebuild our infrastructure, student debt forgiveness, Medicare for all. We need to have this done. And you know what? How they're smearing Tulsi Gabbard says a lot about the status of corporate media. Tulsi has nothing to apologize for.